casi 10 años después, ¿qué se siente, verdad? Tener posiblemente uno de los títulos más leídos sobre la historia de Puerto Rico, específicamente, ¿verdad? De la década del 1950, del periodo nacionalista puertorriqueño. ¿Qué se siente a 10 años después tener este título todavía relevante?
And especially in this historical moment, the historical backdrop of how we got today to with having a teniendo con una junta ahí imponiéndose, dominando la isla entera, una deuda supuestamente, alegadamente, una deuda de 63 billones. If I could give a little bit of quick history, in a period of 3 years, I tracked this from 2016 to 2019. 158 new taxes were created and imposed in Puerto Rico. In New York, we pay, if you look at the per kilowatt hour, I think we pay something like 8 or 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Puerto Rico is almost 3 times that. Puerto Rico is paying almost 3 times, and New York is one of the top 5 most expensive cities in the world to live in.
Have you
That,
seen the picture of Bad Bunny?
yeah.
Um,
You guys, made it, we're very vocal about that, and I appreciate it. But what Bad Bunny is referring to is the um, constant truth, the source, the incontrovertible set of facts that Albizu discovered, shared, promoted throughout the world, and dedicated his whole life to.
yeah,
And at the expense of people. I mean, if you look at it, Laura Meneses, his wife, she suffered. His family suffered.
yeah,
There was a strong, there was a kind of a machismo underlying that, he subordinated every aspect of his life, including his own family.
yeah. He
But
sacrificed himself.
he saw no other way. He saw no other way of doing it. So,
Mhm.
so to talk about Albizu is not just like wearing checking about a t-shirt. So it's not a fashion statement. It's absolutely it's essential. There's no getting around it. There has to be a historical confrontation and the recognition. And once from that recognition is when change starts to happen. You said your second question, do I feel that there is a greater awareness? I think there is. One, in the mere fact that I'm not bragging. I'm humbled to be able to say to know. It surprised me as well that Puerto Rico was that War Against All Puerto Ricans was the best-selling book in all of Puerto Rico for 2 years in a row. That means people were buying the book, obviously. Oh, by the way, can I tell you what I'm gonna have a digression. The
Yes.
Borders bookstore had about 430 bookstores all across the United States. The one in Plaza Las Americas was by far the most profitable bookstore in the entire Borders chain, about $17 million a year. The Borders bookstore in Puerto Rico, showing conclusively that Puerto Ricans read, that there's a
Yes.
market there. And so this is something that maybe liberals can get involved with.
Yeah.
My book, best-selling book in Puerto Rico for 2 years in a row, that in itself provided the numbers for it being on the bestseller list in the New York Times, which would then have increased exponentially the sales of the
Yeah.
book. But guess what? My book didn't make the New York Times bestseller list because the New York Times does not include Puerto Rico in the tabulation of its sales figures.
Mm,
That's how the kind of macondo that we're in. And maybe that's something that liberals might want to be, a part of, to get the New York Times to include Puerto Rico. United States, economically, we don't have under the current relationship, which is very convenient to the United States and to Wall Street. We don't have Chapter 9 bankruptcy access. So Puerto Rico cannot renegotiate its internal municipal bond debt. What does that mean? The U.S. economy is roughly 17, 18 trillion dollars, the gross national product. Every year, there's about the all 50 states and the unions, the teachers unions, especially the municipal unions, they issue these bonds through Wall Street, and the aggregate of these bonds is roughly $4 trillion a year. If you do the math, 4 divided into 17 is something like 21, 22%. So every year, roughly over 20% of the U.S. economy is being filtered through these negotiable instruments issued by Wall Street, these municipal bonds.
yeah.
And the $73 billion debt of Puerto Rico was created by municipal bonds. So if Puerto Rico becomes a state, as an example, well, if it's independent, pa fuera, como hizo Fidel Castro, yeah, well, you know, you you know where to put that debt. But as a you know, as the other option, the statehood, it's really unlikely, and that's like the underpinnings of this party is bullshit, is crap, and they know it.
Nos han tratado a través de los años de sacar ese espíritu, ¿verdad? De emprender, de crearlo de nosotros generar nuestra propia riqueza, para entonces ponernos en un modelo, en una posición donde entonces tengamos que aprender cosas y servicios técnicos para entonces servirle a estas personas que vienen a vivir bien y a disfrutar de incentivos como, ¿verdad? Los de la ley 60, el Act 60, que, ¿verdad? Fue un merge ahí que hicieron después con la ley 2022 y lo han tratado de disfrazar de muchas maneras, pero al final, en esencia, el Act 60 es la continuación de lo que en algún momento fueron beneficios contributivos para empresas extranjeras, o en este caso para individuos extranjeros, ¿verdad? Que era lo que conocíamos como las 936 en algún momento. Y pues básicamente es la única manera de mantener la colonia, the colony working, es a través de este tipo de tax breaks, este tipo de cosas. Los estadistas, los anexionistas saben que Act 60 is not possible con la estadidad. Siendo soberanos, maybe, si nos da la gana, podemos aceptarlo, algún tipo de tax break. Obviamente aquí el gran dilema es que esto beneficia al extranjero y no beneficia al de aquí, al local. Pero sí, ¿cómo tú ves esta manera, ¿verdad? De que en el siglo XXI, 2024, se cumple la profecía de don Pedro Albizu Campos, que él decía, ¿verdad? Que íbamos a pasar de dueños a peones, o sea, de ser los dueños de nuestra riqueza a trabajar entonces para amo.
Otra vez, esto tiene un precedente histórico. Cuando Charles Herbert Allen, when Wall Street saw what Charles Herbert Allen was able to accomplish, when he had that fiscal report was just a takeover plan, it was a blueprint for taking over the Puerto Rican economy. And when Wall Street saw what he was able to do, I mean, the incredible fortune that he created for himself in 17 months. He was only in government for 17 months. There's been a red carpet from Wall Street to San Juan ever since. The carpetbaggers have just been constant, continuous, and it's always led to a boom and bust syndrome. They create one incentive after another. They had Operation Bootstrap, which Congressman Vito Marcantonio called Operation Booby Trap, because what it was is again a number of subsidies to corporations that would hyperinflate their alleged employment statistics to qualify for the Operation Bootstrap subsidies. Then they would always find a way. Oh, there's a problem. In the construction, there was a layer of earth or granite or something that there's going to be cost overruns. They would then have cost overruns, and they would bring generally American contractors to supply whatever was necessary. The first one, the Caribe Hilton, the first Hilton Hotel, was the first major flagship Operation Bootstrap thing. It was a Hilton Hotel in San Juan.
El Caribe Hilton.
Caribe Hilton. And they gave them all sorts of subsidies, and including an advertising budget of $200,000 given from Governor of Puerto Rico to the Hilton. Wow. And so they got all these, the tax preferences, they got the land lots, the same thing that they gave to Charles Herbert Allen in exchange for some employment. What was the employment? Camarero, the busboys, this and that.
Exactly.
The sugar that was on the tables in the restaurants of the Caribe Hilton had been harvested in Puerto Rico, taken out, and then brought back in, and then repurchased at inflated levels. It was like just one big. And they used the casino for the slush payments to the Puerto Rican legislators. Of course, the casino was an easy way to have loose money. And the only real creative work there is the accountant. Right, he's the one that should get paid the most. Hopefully, maybe that guy is Puerto Rican, but they're now under the Harris plan. They're going to looking to increase the capital gains tax, and if that's done across all 50 states, right? Then that's going to be an additional powerful, urgent incentive for a whole new wave. And there's you see these websites, these Act 60 website, and then Sotheby Park Burnett is showing the real estate It's become a whole industry. It's not even a cottage industry. It's becoming a major industry for getting high net worth individuals, corporations to come under the protective tax banner in Puerto Rico. And you can't blame them. I mean, you trying to protect you, but the net effect of all this is going to be an increasing depopulation of Puerto Rico, a two-tier economy, and a society of elite foreigners coming and being serviced by locals who are going to be serving them the little drinks with the Mai Tais and the little umbrellas and everything. And we're being given no stake, no portion of the recompense of the value of our own. I say yo soy New York, and I know a lot of times people say, Nelson, shut the fuck up. You're in New York. Come on down here and live with us and talk. But I think there is a shared truth. My mother was born in Caguas. My family it's Puerto Rico. And if I see something and I can say something about it, I will. We're at a point now historically where if this capital gains tax is put into act, and this election in Puerto Rico comes and goes, and we got the same old. You have people like Pierluisi who are lashing us to energy slavery again for the next 2 or 3 generations, or people like Wanda Vasquez that are found to be, stealing from their own people, stealing Pampers from their own people, and then collaborating. There is no wonder that people are leaving the island. It's no wonder that the youth and the marginalized and disenfranchised are finally waking up to see that something creative, something disruptive, something unexpected has to happen in Puerto Rico for there to be any meaningful change.
How do you see the 2024 upcoming elections potentially result of Juan Dalmau getting elected, because he's the main opponent of Jennifer Gonzalez right now? How do you see that?
Mira, Jennifer Gonzalez goes to a rally dressed as Wonder Woman. Okay, I mean, look at that woman. Just, I hate to say it, I'm not being sexist, all right, but look and listen to this person who's going to be purportedly the face and the voice of the island. That is an invitation to get stepped on. That's an invitation for they say that to get treated the same way. How can you compare that to a Harvard-educated attorney, Juan Dalmau, who isn't, he isn't in it for decades. I mean, I met him, got to talk to him quite a bit. Maria Lourdes, Ruben. By the way, about 25 years ago, there's on YouTube, you can see a speech from Ruben Berrios, a long one. It's like a 20-minute speech, just him on the camera, explaining why Puerto Rico is very unlikely that Puerto Rico will ever become a state. Which, I'll say this for the record, yo soy independentista. It's just a human, it's just natural, organic. It's the self-sovereignty, self-determination is just natural. It's a birthright for everybody in the world. It's even an animal instinct. It makes the biggest sense economically, that Puerto Ricans realize that they can take hold of their own economy, and all those profits that are going elsewhere stays on the island. So but if Puerto Rico can't become independent, if it takes forever, if these multiple sovereignties don't develop properly, if the urgencies of the situation with these acting, it might be better. What we have now, I would say it would be better to be a state. Not my preferred status. Not at all. But here's the thing. It's not going to happen. I mean, it was suggested to me by Nicole that I just read a little piece here. So let me just, to give as we're moving towards the closing, a little context. The life, torture, and death of Albizu Campos were the direct, nearly inevitable result of American foreign policy and an ongoing flaw in the American character. The broken body of Albizu throws a spotlight on the fault lines that run through our national psyche. People are fleeing the island. In 2011 alone, it lost a net of 54,000 residents, probably a lot more now at this rate, or nearly 1.5% of its population. in both 2012, 2013, another 1% in each year. The Puerto Ricans are pouring into Florida, New York, Texas to escape the gunfire and madness tearing apart their island. More than 5 million now live in the mainland United States, 2 million in New York and Florida alone. Puerto Rico is on pace to lose 40% of its population by the year 2050. They're leaving because the Puerto Rico they once knew, gone. So when you put that in context with foreign wealthy people coming in, and it's going to be exponential if the capital gains, a 40% capital gains tax is applied in the mainland. Imagine the influx,
Yes.
the bombardment of high net worth individuals coming from all over the United States to Puerto Rico as a tax haven. I recommend looking at one thing. There is ongoing litigation now through Dominion Systems, EDS, Smartphonic. There's all these corporations that are undergoing allegations of major election tampering. It is possible in computer voting for an entire voting system of a municipality to be hacked. So the thing that I would recommend is, get as many these young computer geek types involved in this as much as a high level as possible, and hopefully a preventive manner to try to and have under the legitimacy of the party itself, the PIP, to be very aggressive about monitoring the computer systems that are going to regulate this election.
That's a great.
You can steal it with a keystroke.
Yeah, I think the electronic system is not perfect, and it can be hackable. I think it's more dangerous than even the counting vote per vote. The old school way. I think the data breach or the hacking thing. Yeah.
Before you say, again, just a little bit of history. Under when Puerto Rico voted for the Commonwealth, La Ley 53 was in place, and you were voting. They were voting with machines and with paper ballots. Yeah. How the heck are you going to vote? With a paper ballot going in the box, and everybody's going to figure out how you voted. I mean, it's a paper ballot, and you have Law 53. You're going to send you to jail for 10 years. How can you call that a free and open vote? Those are the conditions that were imposed then on Puerto Rico, and now through technological rubric, more subversive, more intravenous, they can do it again if we're not careful.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. All true. Nelson, thank you. Thank you a lot. We only have 3 minutes left, but I want to wrap it up. You're a lawyer, you're a writer, you're also a film director. So in a minute, what's next for Nelson DENIS? What's your next project? Another book, another film?
My hope is in this media world. I've seen the impact of my book, and it's an impact that has been centered mostly in Puerto Rico and in New York. My hope is that, and I'm trying as best I can. I have 2 agents working on it. I would love for Bad Bunny or Rene. I've spoken with him sometime a couple of years ago, that historical series, a TV series, gets made of my book. And maybe it's the kind of thing that could open at Sundance or at the Cannes Film Festival. Some way to have the world know what we know. Get the world involved. Get them see the madness, the schizophrenia, the unlivable, the human accident that is happening, that has to be prevented. That there is an urgency to this. The world needs to know, and I think that the material in my book is dramatic. It tells the story, and it lets the world know that Puerto Rico needs to stand up for itself, and it needs all the support that it can get. So my aim is to try to get my book into the media world and have an audience, on television, on film, whatever it is, but to let the world know what we already know.
Nelson, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Also, thank Nicole. You're here because of Nicole, because Nicole was the responsible of making all this happen. She told me several times, Nelson doesn't give out interviews. He's very selective with the people he sits with. I'm also the co-founder of a project that's named Salon Boricua, and I have to say that your chapter in the book, Salon Boricua, is one of my favorite of all of them. But yeah, maybe Nicole can show you a bit
You,
of
could you see Bad Bunny playing the part? But Vidal Santiago Diaz, fighting all the 40 soldiers, all the rest, and they shoot
oh
him in the head,
yes.
and then he comes out and he opens his eyes. I
That
could
would
see.
be awesome. I met the daughter of Vidal Santiago recently, and I wanted to interview her. So now I don't know. Maybe I'll talk to her soon. But thank you, Dennis. Thanks a lot for your time. I'm gonna
I
call back Nicole
I
so we
didn't have
can.
any choice because Nicole is relentless. So you can thank
Yes.
her.
Thank you, Nicole. Gracias.